I love you, baby, and if it's quite alright, I need you, baby, to warm a lonely night. I love you, baby.
Reach out every Monday on
At-
BronxNet, 8:30 p.m. with Robbie Robinson, our musical director.
Really?
Yeah.
No!
Yes.
Robbie Robinson?
Yeah.
Frankie Valli's guy?
Yeah.
Not bad. Listen, check your local listings for the time.
Thank you, Ralph.
You're welcome.
The end is near, and so I face the final curtain.
You know what?
My friend,
I'll walk from here.
I'll say it clear. I'll
Hello.
state my case.
What's happening, fellas?
I'm certain
Who's winning?
We are.
Hey,
a life
this is
that's
Stan.
full.
We've been waiting for you to come in here since '98 at the least.
You never invited me.
We're here now. Thank you.
I'm signing this soul thing. All right. What's happening? You doing all right, buddy?
Yeah, special.
Captured your spirit.
I love it.
I'm older. I don't know these things.
Me either.
What is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way.
Reach out, oh, red and see. Reach out, with red and Steve. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the car.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Reach Out with Ray and Steve. This is the show where East meets West, where the Yankees meet the Dodgers, where baseball meets music, and we all come together for community. Now, I'm so excited about tonight's show because we've got a bunch of neat, really cool guests, but one of the guests is a music icon. This guy, well, his name is Joey D, and I would hope that most of you know that name. He had a band called Joey D and the Starlighters. He still has a band called Joey D and the Starlighters, and in 1962, I believe it was, way before I was born, 1962, he had a big, humongous smash worldwide hit record, #1, and it was called, well, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to tell you what it was called. Sarah Nimitz, one of my favorite collaborators, and I put together a tribute to Mr. Joey D and the Starlighters, and we did our version of that big smash record, and this is how it goes.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, they got a new dance and it goes like this. The name of the dance is the Peppermint Twist. Well, we got a new dance and it goes like this. Give the name of the dance is the Peppermint Twist. Wow! Well, you like it like this, Peppermint Twist. Round and round, up and down. Round and round, up and down. Round and round and up and down and a 1, 2, 3, kick. 1, 2, 3, jump. I'll be living it on the 45th Street, where JD and the Twisters meet. And you learn to do this, the Peppermint Twist. Ooh, it's alright, alright, it's alright, alright, it's alright, it's alright. It's okay all day, it's okay. But you learn to do this, the Peppermint Twist. Well, they got a new dance and it goes like this. Joey D called the dance the Peppermint Twist. Joey D taught the world how to peppermint twist.
Joey D taught the world how to peppermint twist. Let's see if our twisters are backstage now. Come on in, Mr. Ray and Steve.
Yeah, nice intro, Robbie.
I bet you guys were twisted. I bet that Ray is a great twister.
Yeah, he's going on. He's got a seatbelt on this chair here.
Good.
So he can't get too far away. But great job, you and Sarah, man. I unbelievable.
Hey, isn't that exciting? We're going to have Joey D tonight on our show tonight.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. And
Legend of legends.
the legend
Yes.
of legends. And we have a bunch of things going on here today. We have to start off with Derek Jeter. He's making the Hall of Fame on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And he put a little tribute to New Yorkers that he wants to get out there that our show wants to support. So let's see what DJ has to say about our New Yorkers here. Let's check it out.
New York, I want to tell you a story about a kid who grew up in the Midwest in a town called Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo.
Quiet, unsure, and at times a little intimidated.
A homebody at heart.
About a kid with a dream. Who moved to a big city. To the big city.
A kid who was just trying to keep up with everyone else.
A lot was asked of that kid.
And I always respected the challenge.
To prove myself each and every day.
The lights were always bright. The pace was always fast.
The stakes were always high. The expectations higher.
And in those difficult moments, those moments that feel unique to New York, he always showed me a sign. All I had to do was look.
New York, you never forget how you looked out for me.
And throughout 20 years in pinstripes, I learned that despite the pace and the pressure,
one code truly makes the city go.
Get up each day.
Put on your uniform.
Go to work.
Haz tu mejor y no vengan con excusas.
that's all New York ever really asked for.
And that's what I try to do.
Thank you, New York, for asking a lot of me, for challenging me, for giving this kid a place to grow up.
Today, I'm no longer that kid. I've hung up my uniform.
And I know this much for a fact.
I wouldn't be the person I am today without you.
Because the truth is,
No matter where you go in the world.
When a place feels like home, as New York does to me,
you never really leave. It'll always be with you.
It'll always be with you.
It will always be with you.
Wow.
That
Derek,
was really something, you know.
You know, it really epitomizes New Yorkers, too. And,
Sure.
you know, it's 20 years, September 11th. And, you know, we had to kind of really understand this shows a history lesson. So, Robbie, what's your recollections of September 11th and how it changed your life around forever?
I think it changed everybody's life forever. It told us that we were vulnerable. I mean, this great nation that we live in, the land of the free and the home of the brave, could actually get hit by those terrorists. And it was just a fateful day. And my prayers go out that we can continue to be safe, especially this coming week, because I know there's a lot of people on edge.
That's right. That's right, Ray. I mean, it's this week is very emotionally charged. I mean, we're not even talking baseball. We're talking about, you know, Derek getting into the Hall of Fame, 20 years since September 11th, and just a lot of changes for our world. I mean, the last couple of years, we've been out there on the streets during this pandemic, and we've seen those changes. And I know you said we just want to get our world back, and it's never more stronger than now than ever.
You know, the changes that I have no comment anymore, okay? Because sometimes you wonder, are we going to get our world back? And that's just a low point. We have to have our faith in God, and I have to remember that you know, hey, there is a higher power than me or Robbie or anybody else, and we have to depend on him to get us back. And I'm going to take it that there is a reason why. And, you know, if you read the Bible and if you read it in the way you're supposed to read it, you see the scenarios of why. Robbie, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to turn this into a Father Flanagan story. So let's move on.
But you know, a lot of people lost lives and lives have been changed forever. But also, you were around Derek Jeter. Talk about what it means to you to see him get into the Hall of Fame finally. And we're going to bring Squeegee on, too, in a minute. But what's your recollections of DJ?
Well, you got to remember that I had him at 18 years of age when we first signed him. And he knew of my relationship with the owner. And at that time, that was a different Derek Jeter. This was a very humble, very scared type of kid who was anxious to get to the big leagues. And every time he saw me, he would always say to me, could you talk to Mr. Steinbrenner and let him know that I'm ready? You know, and when he made it to the big leagues, a story that did we lose Dave Lennon? Did we lose David Lennon? Okay, because I love to bring David on.
All right, let's bring Dave on, the great sports writer, New York journalist, sports journalist. David, thank you for joining us here. Happy Labor Day. And
let me just
welcome
say,
to Reach Out.
Let me just say that in 1996 was probably, David, was that your first season with the covering the Yankees?
Actually, 95 was my first year.
Okay, when Derek got there that fall.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit, and then I'm going to tell you a story. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he was just a highly touted prospect at that time when I first met him, and really the kid had the world on his shoulders. I mean, he was coming to New York as the next huge thing. And when you arrive that way, you know, there's a ton of pressure, but he never felt it. You know, I mean, when he started out, he was this unassuming, always smile on his face, just really confident in his abilities. And he didn't have an easy time in the minors either. I mean, he made a ton of errors. He went through a lot of growing pains at a young age down there. So this was not a case where he just skated through. I mean, he had something to shake off here. And Ray knows that, you know, that one spring in '96 when Tony Fernandez got hurt, and that's what cleared the way for Jeter to take over. And the one thing I remember from those times that was different as Jeter kind of moved along was that he wasn't Derek Jeter icon at that point. You know, he was just kind of another excited kid. And I think if you go back and watch him from those days, you'll see that. And, you know, as he grew on to become, you know, the next Mantle, the next DiMaggio, or the next Gehrig, or whoever you want to frame it, you know, you got to see him grow into that. And I think I had the benefit to see him at that very young age, to still see the wide-eyed kid part before he grew in to the legend. And I just think I got to joke around with him a lot more during those days. He was a lot more open about what his off seasons were like, you know, his appearances on MTV or what he did after the parades or that sort of thing. When he had to later, had to become a little more guarded just because of the crush of attention for him.
Right.
But honestly, watching those videos, the first one, the Gatorade ad, and also that love letter to New York, the thank you that he had, I was getting goosebumps, you know, for a cynical sports writer to get goosebumps with stuff then you know it's powerful stuff, because you don't really hear guys say that very often. You know, we're a jaded bunch. Ray knows hundreds of us, but that one kind of really hit. And not only for what he accomplished here, but really for the passage of time, right? Because as we watched Jeter get older, we all got older too, you know, and he really kind of walked the years for us. You know, Ray doesn't look a minute older than he did in '95, but the rest of us have a lot.
Robbie, you okay over there, Robbie?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm having a little panic attack.
The rest of us have a lot more gray hair, and we're reading. We have reading glasses now, but not Ray. He looks the same as the day I met him.
You know what is amazing about Jeter too is another Yankee icon, another Yankee legend goes into the hallowed halls of fame, and I love the fact he's old school, and it's old school enough that this is a guy who played his entire career with the same team, and I just love that part of baseball. We miss so much of that anymore.
That's right.
David.
That's right.
David. I got to ask you again, because in those days it was you, it was Clappish, it was Davidoff.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you were the core guys. And those first 2 years, 96, 97, Mr. Steinbrenner always gave me my assignment, as you well know, whereas that the first 2 years, I was guarding Dwight Gooden because of his drug problem.
Right.
And I was guarding Derek Jeter because he was the kid that the boss didn't want to go astray, per se. And after the second season, Derek Jeter says to me, in 96, we were together every single day. Okay. Wow. We were on the road. When we flew, I mean, you see the pictures of me and him, we're always sitting together. Then we got into 97, and Jeter was moving fast, so I got laid back. By the end of the season, Jeter said to me, Ray, how come we're not as close this year as we were last year? And I gave him this, because there was no one that was going to be able to straddle that kid. Am I wrong, David?
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, he took off like a rocket. You know, I mean, his stardom grew so big, so fast. And the thing about that, Ray, and you mentioned having to shadow Doc just to make sure he kind of stayed out of trouble. With Jeter, the guy never made a wrong move. I mean, how do you spend your entire career in New York to have all that stardom, to have the world in the palm of your hand, and just always do the right thing. I mean, you can't say that about any other athlete really that's come through here. They've either said the wrong thing at one point, they've either did the wrong thing, or got on the wrong side of somebody, or had Steinbrenner on their back, or got into a fight with a teammate or something. That never happened with Jeter. And to have the tabloids breathing down your neck every day, to have the TV cameras in your face every day, to play on the sport's biggest stage. I mean, listen, there is no bigger stage in sports than Yankee Stadium. Whether you're talking about the old Yankee Stadium or the new one now. And he lived it. I mean, that was his home. I mean, that was practically his bedroom. It was between second and third base in the Bronx. So the fact that he outgrew Ray, and he didn't need Ray to keep his nose clean at a young age, really said a lot.
David, what was the impact of Joe Torre in him? What was it? And was Torre the guy that really, like, you know what I'm trying to ask you?
Well, I mean, don't we all, when we start out in our jobs or our careers or even lives, we're always looking for a father figure, right? We're always looking for somebody to lean on that, aside from our regular dads. And I think Torre for Jeter really kind of represented that. I think Jeter really went out of his way to kind of look for Torre's approval. I think Joe knew it was important to be that kind of figure in this young player's life. And the thing that Joe, whenever Torre looked at Jeter, and this doesn't happen a lot with young players, he was like beaming, like a proud father, which is amazing, because so many times with these old managers, and Joe Torre is a baseball lifer. I mean, he's a baseball legend in his own right, and a New Yorker. So he knows the drill. And to think that, he wasn't even hard on Jeter in the beginning, because he respected him so much, and there was so much mutual respect there, that I think, Ray, and it's a good point. Could Jeter have done that with any other manager? Maybe a Buck Showalter, would have been a pretty similar thing. And Buck was there obviously in '95 before Joe took over. So maybe that could have happened with Buck as well. But I think that was really kind of one of those times in Yankee history where the right people kind of came together at the right time. And I think that was a benefit to both those guys.
And speak about the right people at the right time. We have another Yankee bat boy, Louis Castillo, on the line. We're going to bring him in there because he was front and center to Derek's career there. There he is in the playoffs in '99 in Boston. And Squeegee, you're there.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Say hi to David. Hey, Luigi. How you doing, man?
Hi, David, man. Great comments about Jeter, David. You nailed it right on the button. Jeter was a class act. Guys like us, bat boys, that, behind the scene guys, Derek always gave credit to. He had time for everybody. And I mean, that's a leader. And guess whose locker was right next to him in the old clubhouse? Stern and Munson.
Yeah.
So, Jeter was just right there, like Ray and you guys all said. I was there as a 15-year-old kid watching this young man become a man already at a young age. And I remember my first year before he gave, after he gave me the name Squeegee at his locker, we sat down and like Torre was to Jeter, Jeter was to all of us and teammates, like even David Cone, Paul O'Neill. He sat me down on a couch. I had got assaulted in my neighborhood. I had a metal plate. I just finished coming off of surgery in the off season. And he sat me down and he said, "Hey, Willie Randolph, leave him alone, man. The kid had a rough winter." And he sat there and he gave me advice to go down the positive road, stay in school. And that was Jeter, not with just myself, with other bat boys and towel people, janitors, you name it. Jeter was just well loved.
Great,
Wow.
CJ. You're an author as well. You have a book out there. Talk about your book real quick.
Yes, my book, Clubhouse Confidential. It's about my bat boy career, my ups and downs, and it's a great read. It's funny tales of a kid from the Bronx that, made it out, of a community that everyone struggles in the Bronx. But, it's like a fairy tale that comes true, man. And, I'm so proud of the Yankee organization for giving me a chance. Guys like Jeter and David Cone for, being a father figure, and also my good buddy right there, the godfathers of all godfathers right there of Bat Boys, Ray Negron, man.
Thank you.
Oh,
Steve.
by the way, hold on. Hey, Robbie Robinson. I'll see you. Hey, hold on. I'm not done.
This was going so well.
Hold on. Hold
What
on.
happened?
Hold on. I'm not done with you, Robbie. I'll see you in the World Series. I just
there we go.
Oh, okay.
Burn that thing. Burn
Hey.
that thing.
We're praying for a Dodger Yankee World Series. Let's have another one, huh?
There we go. There we go. Well,
Long
Squeegee,
overdue.
thank you so very much, Squeegee. God bless you, man. We'll see you down the road real quick.
All right, guys.
We'll
Be
see
good,
you
man.
in
Good
Baltimore.
speaking to you.
See
Squeegee
you,
will
buddy.
be in Baltimore
Bat Boy.
performing in the play Bat Boy before the Yankee game against the Baltimore
It's
Orioles
the Babe Ruth Museum.
at the Babe Ruth
September
Museum,
15th.
and the show will help several different charities, including the museum itself.
That's right. That's right. So
Awesome.
Squeegee, see you on the highway there.
See you guys. Congratulations to Derek, man.
We'll pick you up
Yeah.
on I-95. Okay,
There we
just
go,
show us your
there we go.
leg.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys.
David, thank you so very much for joining us and talking a little bit about Derek Jeter. We'll have to get you back on. There's not much to talk about the Yankees these days, but hopefully next day or two we'll turn things around.
No, but real quick, David, can
Yes.
they turn it around? Real quick, can they turn it around?
Yeah, you look at the names in that lineup, guys. How can you say not? You know, I mean, I didn't understand why they were struggling so much in the first half. You know, I mean, they have the talent. It's just a matter. All of us in the press box are scratching our heads because this is an incredibly talented group. And as we saw during that 13-game winning streak, they know how to win. What's happened these past couple of days? Losing 2 out of 3 to the Orioles, losing today. Maybe it's one of those things. There's still a month left. I think you still have to kind of place your bets with them.
All right, we'll
I'm
see what
scared.
happens.
I'm scared, David.
David, thanks for the great work that you do, and we'll see you down the road.
My pleasure, guys. Have a great show.
David Lennon, a great sports journalist in New York since '95, been covering the Yankees. But before we get to our big guest, we have another big guest who's the biggest Frankie Valli fan in her generation. Let's bring on Gabby
Wow.
Brown, who's an illustrator.
Gabby Brown.
She does a lot of children's books with her illustrations.
Gabby Brown.
Gabby,
Hi.
welcome to the show.
Gabby.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I hate your shirt, but Gabby Brown.
But Gabby, why are you the biggest Frankie Valli fan?
Oh, I when I was in high school, I was super into Grease and like 50s, 60s music. And so I first heard Frankie in Grease, and I fell in love. I love his music. I love his.
My eyes adored you.
He breaks
Now,
down-
don't ruin it there, Ray.
Yeah, see that? Robbie, keep him in line. Well, have trouble.
Hey, I have a question for you, Gabby. So have you been to a Frankie Valli live show ever?
I have. I've been to 2 actually.
Where?
So I saw him for the first time in 2018 at the Minnesota State Fair, and then I saw him the second time almost a year ago, or no, I'm sorry, 2 years ago, at the Minnesota Orpheum in Minneapolis.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he was amazing. He was really good.
So then you saw Robbie Robinson.
Yes.
I was there. I
So
was
Gabby-
there.
Yeah.
So, Gabby, you're an illustrator. Talk about some of the work that you just put together real quick for this show.
Sure.
We're going to pop it onto the screen because you're a Frankie Valli fan. You came up with this. You did that, but then you also colorized it. Talk about what this means.
Nice.
So,
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so actually in high school, I created that character to represent my love for Frankie Valli and his music. And so I thought it would be cool to kind of bring him back. And, you know, he was a really big part of my life in high school. So I couldn't not bring him back and redraw him.
That's nice.
Wow.
That's beautiful. But also you did something to memorial to 9/11 real quick. Explain this beautiful tribute.
Yeah, so those 2 dogs in there are my representation of actual dogs that helped and found people from 9/11. So Apollo is the German Shepherd, and then there's 20, the Dalmatian. So they were real dogs, and they helped to find people and save people. So I thought that was a really neat way to kind of memorialize them, and because they were such a big part in helping people in 9/11.
Well, Gabby, thank you so
Wow,
very much.
great stuff, Gabby.
Bravo.
I'm gonna show that picture to Frankie.
Please do.
Okay, yes. And she's from Minnesota, and I think that you guys are going to be in Minnesota. So
Yeah,
maybe
we're
you get
coming
to
up
see
there
her.
at the end of the month somewhere, I think.
Yeah. But Gabby, how can people get a hold of you real quick?
So I have Instagram. It's okay. It's at Cash Money Gabby with 3 Y's at the end. Feel free to direct message me. I do commissions. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I know you're doing a series of children's books, so God bless you, Gabby.
Thank
and we
you.
became fast friends. Thank you for joining us here a little bit.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Great.
And we have a live person in the studio here. It's her
Am I
birthday. Come on over. It's Teresa Farrell's birthday today. Move over. There we go.
Hey.
So, Teresa, there we go. We had to spruce it up a little bit. Happy birthday, Teresa.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Teresa.
Thank you. I
Yes,
appreciate
happy
it.
birthday. And talk
Teresa Farrell
Oh,
is she plays my aunt Olga in the play Bat Boy.
yes.
Awesome.
And I also
And a
play.
tremendous artist, actress, singer,
Comedian,
comedian.
TV host.
She does it all.
And she
does it all.
And she cooks pasta too.
And
Yeah.
I cook. I actually
Italiana.
See. And I just want to, say thank you for everything that, you've done for me. We met 15 years ago, and I'm just so blessed to have you both in my, in my path in life. And
And
it's a
that means
blessing.
Robbie Robinson too.
And Robbie, it's so nice to finally meet you.
Yes. Hi, Teresa.
I actually met Frankie Valli years ago.
They had
Wow.
an affair.
No. What happened was I
Ray.
went to go see Frank Sinatra in Atlantic City.
I've heard of him.
And I was with my first husband at the time, and he said to me,
I
"Hey,
wonder why.
we're in the lobby," and he says to me, "Hey, that's Frankie Valli. Go say hello," because it was actually my birthday when we went. And I went up to Frank, to
Mr. Valli,
Mr.
please.
Valli, and I said, "Hi, Mr. Valli. Can I please have your autograph?"
Oh,
and the
geez,
only
you
thing
ruined
I had was the Harris matchbook cover.
Yeah.
And he said, "I'll sign it for you." And he goes, "Are you a Jersey girl?" And I said, "No, I'm from New York."
Where's the cover now?
I still have it.
Could I see it?
I don't have it on me. I have it
Okay.
at home, but I still have it after all these years. Never have seen him in concert yet. Hoping one day I will. But big fan of his also.
Awesome.
Teresa,
I have a question for Teresa. Have you ever done the peppermint twist, Teresa? You're an Italiano.
Of course I have. I love that song. I was actually watching from home before I came in studio.
Wow.
So it was a great tribute.
Yeah, thank you. Teresa has a show, so she's hightailing.
Yeah,
to a
I
different
actually invited
studio.
Robbie, but we conflict a little bit. So
Yeah, our
I just want to
schedules
thank
didn't
you
work.
guys again
Yes,
for everything
yes.
you do.
Did you say hello to Joey D?
Hi, Joey D.
Let's bring Joey on.
And I'm
real
actually
quick.
looking forward
Well,
to
here, let's give him a
also
big.
on-
Hey, Teresa, can you give him a nice big introduction? He's another Italiano.
Yeah. Introduce him.
So coming to the show right now is Joey D. Welcome in, Joey D. How you doing tonight?
Well, that was weak.
Aha,
I'm
Joey
doing
D.
Hey, Joey.
Oh,
Hey,
look at
everybody.
that jacket. You
Great
look sharp.
show, man. Great show. Happy birthday, Teresa. And I
Joey
just like
D.
to say,
Joey
You got-
D. Listen, hold up 1 second. I need for Robbie Robinson to introduce you the way you're supposed to be introduced. So we're gonna go like I'm gonna rewind this three syllables, and then Robbie, you're gonna make believe like it never happened.
All right, whatever. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, very, very special guest. This gentleman is an icon in the music business. He had one of the biggest records in the history of the world. He had a school of rock where he had some of the most amazing musicians in his band that all went on to become stars themselves. He's my dear friend. He's an amazing musician, an amazing singer, an amazing songwriter. Put your virtual hands together for Mr. Joey D, everybody.
Well, they got a new dance and it goes like this. Yeah, the name of the dance is the peppermint twist. When you like it like this, the peppermint twist.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, Joe, you are a well-dressed man over there.
Well, thank you, Steve. Thank you, Ray. Robbie, I got something for you, man.
Uh-oh.
Ah,
Yeah.
there we go. Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes. What do you got
I'm a
for me there,
Jersey,
Robbie?
I'm a Jersey boy. Remember that.
No, but he's got
And
your
I
book.
read in your book, Joey, that you bleed. You know that I bleed Dodger blue, but I read in your book that you bleed Yankee pinstripes.
Pinstripes. That's right, baby. I grew up in Jersey and I lived 10 years in the Bronx. So don't get much more Bronx or New York than that.
No.
Wow. Well,
No.
Joe, your career
And
is
you know,
amazing.
I was in the toughest city in the world for entertainment, and I was very fortunate. They say New York never hugs you. Well, New York hugged me for 15 minutes, man. I love it. Greatest city in the world, still is. And every time I go back to it, I live in Florida now, but there's no place like New York City, baby.
Hey, Joey, you know, the night that I truly understood the magnitude of how big you really were was I was in Clearwater, Florida, sitting in the 5th row center, and I thought I had great seats, okay? But then sitting in 4th row center and being introduced by the great Frankie Valli was the great Joey D. And I thought I was blown away by that because of the magnitude of how Frankie presented it. And you know what? To this day, I still think about that. And I think that that's really cool as to everything that you have done. And thank you for being here today.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Ray. That's really nice. And Frankie and I were both Jersey boys, and we grew up maybe 20 miles apart from each other. He's always been an idol and a mentor of mine and a very special friend.
And you know what? I mentioned this. I did mention this book, but Frankie has a kind word on the back of the book here, and maybe I could read it for the audience.
Please.
It says, Joey D has been a good friend for almost 60 years. Of course, we're both proud to be Jersey boys. Joey is one of the early innovators of all of the music that you hear today. And oh, what an entertainer. Peppermint Twist Chronicles, that's the name of this book. Peppermint Twist Chronicles looks back at a terrific career with quite a few twists, no pun intended, or otherwise. Thank you, Frankie Valli. That's from Frankie Valli.
Yeah, well, we had some beautiful people. Sir Barry Gibb wrote some nice words. Aaron Neville, everybody loves Aaron Neville.
Oh, yeah.
And Shirley from the Shirelles, Ronnie from the Ronettes, who was part of my group at one time, that I met in the Peppermint Lounge. And if you're going to be somebody, you make it in New York City, you make it anywhere, baby.
That's how the song goes. You know, Joey D had like a School of Rock before there was a movie called The School of Rock, because you had all these stars that were in your band. Can you tell the audience some of the stars that came through your band?
All right, I'll tell you how it first started. We had a band in New Jersey. We were the #1 band because we had contests all the time. Mm-hmm. And we had a contest with this group from Belleville and Bloomfield, New Jersey. And that band was a friend of mine, Billy Callanan, and Joe Pesci was a guitar player. Mm-hmm. And our band came out #1, of
Hold
course.
it. You said Joe Pesci? That Joe Pesci?
That Joe Pesci, right.
Wow.
And here's what happened. Here's what the irony of the thing is. After the contest was over and we won, Pesci quit that band and joined my band.
Wow.
And then he came to the Peppermint Lounge, and when I did a movie called Hey, Let's Twist, he asked me if I can get him a part as an extra. And I did that for him because he's such a cool dude. And that's the first movie he ever appeared in, Hey, Let's Twist, for Paramount Movies.
Wow, how cool is that?
And
yeah, I was lucky. Then I had the world's greatest guitar player in my band, Jimi Hendrix. They don't get
amazing.
Wow.
Amazing.
And I'll tell you, two of the guitar players in my band are in the Hall of Fame, and one got an Academy Award. Pesci got an Academy Award. Hendrix, he got an Hall of Fame. And Gene Cornish from the Young Rascals.
Right.
Rock
So
and
I
Roll
had
Hall of
3
Fame.
guitar
Right.
players in my band.
Wow.
In the Hall of, superstars, all guitar players. But here's what I'm most proud of, Robbie, and I know you'll agree with me, and Ray and Steve as well. I had a band that was integrated in 1960. And we were the first group to have a #1 hit recording with an integrated orchestra. And that's the most proud I am of all my accomplishments.
Well, and I was fascinated in reading your book. By the way, the name of the book is Peppermint Twist Chronicles. How do the people buy this book, by the way?
Well, just go to Amazon and click on it, and Peppermint Twist Chronicles, and there's some great stories in there. It's a lot of truth. There's a lot of pathos, and there's a lot of comedy. You're going to laugh, and I think you might even get a tear in your eye on some of the stories. Like when I lost my dad and I lost my first wife, but I told the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you.
Smells like a movie to me.
There we go.
Boy, ain't that the truth.
There we go.
And one of the things. Go ahead. Go ahead,
I'm
Joey.
sorry. What I miss a lot, Ray, we don't hang out at Ruth Eckerd Hall anymore because the shows aren't as prevalent, and Bobby Rossi, our good pal, always took great care of us, right?
Yes, he did. He's great.
And somewhere there's a picture of you and I backstage with Robbie wearing that stupid uniform that he's got on.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of uniforms, you're wearing that white uniform that yourself, but I'll tell you what. Do you guys realize, Steve and Ray, that Joey was named one of the top 10 best dressed men in America in the 60s? I mean, you were on that list. I read that also in your book with all these big stars.
Well, yeah, Dick Clark was one. John Kennedy was one. I mean,
Cary Grant.
You know, a kid from the streets of Passaic, New Jersey, and I became the top 10. But here's what was so great about the early 1960s. We had our Vietnam. We had our issues with differences of opinions, of course, in politics. But the thing, the Peppermint Lounge and the music brought us all together. It wasn't just the music, it was history. We were making history. And that's the most important thing that I think we accomplished. Yes, the music was great. Yes, Dick Clark gave me a gold record on American Bandstand, but it was nothing like being in New York City in the early 1960s, where you can see Bob Dylan down at the Cafe Wah. You can see Gene Krupa. You can see Joey D and the Starlighters. You can go to the Copa and all the great music places. That's why New York has always been the greatest, especially for music.
And that Peppermint Lounge, that exploded like a rocket ship. I mean, the star, Jacqueline Kennedy used to come in and dance in there.
Everybody in there. Anybody who was anybody of notoriety back in the early 1960s. Even the Duke came in. John Wayne, Marilyn Monroe, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Ava Gardner. It's just an endless. Nat King Cole. Pesci was there every night. Judy Garland was there every night.
Wow.
I mean, this place is supposed to hold like 200 people. We would cram in 600-700 people. And every night was a brand new stardom night for me, because here's a kid from a blue collar family. I come from 10 children, and my mom and dad raised me right, taught me judge people on how they treat you and how they are, and always be yourself and be honest. And I got to meet the biggest celebrities in the entire world. It was just fantastic.
Wow.
Joey D, I got to ask you, did you meet Billy Martin?
Did I what?
Did you meet Billy Martin?
You know, Billy Martin, I never got to meet, but he was certainly a hero of mine. But you got to remember,
and him would have been great together. You and him would have been great together.
Well, without a doubt, I'm sure. But and then I go back to the days of DiMaggio and Yogi. This is before Mickey even, and that's how long I've been a Yankee fan, since 1940s, man.
Wow.
So
I remember reading, and I also read in the book, there was another Yankee that used to come and hang out in your club, right?
Yeah.
And he's a friend of.
Another Yankee is another Joe. Joe Pepitone,
Oh,
who was
boy.
a unique Yankee, a man all to himself.
Yes.
He's the first man to bring a hair dryer into the dressing room, and he put
Yes.
pomade on his hair. He would come into my nightclub. I had a club on West 46th Street called Joey D. Starlighter. He'd come in with 2 and 3 Playboy bunnies or stewardesses, always beautiful women. And he'd stay there. The club would close at 4 a.m. And then the next day on a Sunday, he would go do maybe a doubleheader at Yankee Stadium. And believe it or not, all that partying, he'd hit 2 home runs or 3. I think one time he hit 3 home runs, but I'm sure it was 2 home runs.
Oh, that's why.
Pepitone
That's
and
why.
we got a lot of history together. Now it's in the book. You got to read it.
Yeah.
Well, Joey, share with our viewers a little bit your night or your time with the Beatles sharing the same stage.
Well, that was an amazing thing. In 1963, prior to the Beatles coming to the States, in October 26, actually, I was headlining a show in Stockholm, Sweden. And the opening act for me were the Beatles, of all people. But I had worked with and heard about them at the Star Club in Hamburg, Germany. And the Beatles are coming, the Beatles are coming. And I knew they were special. And when they opened for me, the crowd went berserk. So I knew I had to come with my A game, and I did. And we did our great show. But I got to talk to them, and they said, Joey, when we come to the States, first place we're coming to visit is the Peppermint Lounge. And true to their word, all 4 of them came with Murray Decay. They came with Murray Decay, who was supposed to be the 5th Beatle. Murray was a big DJ back then.
Right.
But Cousin Brucey's my all-time favorite.
That's
That's a great story. And almost to the day, 11 years ago, you have a street corner in New Jersey dedicated to you, Washington and Columbia. We have a little video of you performing at that little acknowledgement.
Well, that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Wow. Oh,
There it is.
All right.
There's a copy of it, yeah. And on stage with me that day were Eddie and David Brigatti from the Young Rascals, and in the audience, the Shirley and Beverly from the Shirelles, because they're from the same hometown I'm in. Now they named the high school auditorium after the Shirelles, who were Hall of Famers and deservedly so, and they named the middle school after Joey D and the Starlighters. So how cool is that?
That's so cool. Congratulations.
I had so many cool things that happened to me just by being at the right place at the right time helped too.
Wow.
Well, you not only sang that song, you wrote that song along with Henry Glover, right?
Yes, Henry Glover was the A&R man with Roulette Records, and Morris Levy was the owner. He never paid us any money, but we did have a #1 record.
Morris Levy, for the audience out there, was a notorious record owner, right? And he was kind of a gangster, mobster kind of guy, and he was notorious for not paying musicians. As a matter of fact, didn't he hold Tommy James out of over a balcony one time?
No. That was about another guy that's in Tommy James' book and also in mine. But Tommy James lives in Jersey now. See, all smart people end up in New Jersey sooner or later. And I live in Florida now longer than I've lived in New Jersey. But when people ever ask me where I'm from, I'm a Jersey boy in my heart. It's an attitude. It's a special thing. And then the 10 years in the
What's
Bronx.
wrong with the Bronx, man?
I just told you, I spent 10 years there, Ray, and I loved it. I lived in Morris Park, man. I love the Bronx.
So
but I
Joey,
like the attitude.
Yeah, this pandemic has taken a hit on everybody, especially musicians. How's it been for you, and where do you see yourself performing in the future?
Well, I do a lot of gigs in Atlantic City. I do the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut a lot, and that'll be opening up very shortly. Robbie and Frankie Valli just did it recently, so they're the forerunners of. If they can open up a place, then it's open for business, and we're looking forward to being there very shortly. I'm going to be in October 2nd. I'm going to be appearing at the Count Basie Theater in Red Bank, New Jersey. So I'll be back there for a couple of days.
Nice.
Hey,
nice.
Joey.
A big concert there with Larry Chance and the Earls, Bronx Boys, and Jay Siegel and the Tokens. So we're going to have a great show, man.
I got to ask you, Joey. I mean, you're a historian of music, like as is the great Robbie Robinson per se. What to give credit where it's due? What's your feeling about, say, an entertainer like Al Jolson?
Al Jolson was a hell of an entertainer. Not my kind of stuff, but he was a great entertainer. Frank Sinatra. They don't come any better than that, man. He's the Yankee theme song.
I'm a huge Jolson fan, and I always feel that as we get older and older, that those guys get less and less credit per se.
Yeah, you're exactly right there.
You know, and it
And
bothers
20
me.
years from now, people won't be remembering Joey D and the Starlighters as well as they do today. But that just comes with the timing and the place in your personal history. My personal history took me, I was 8 miles from the Lincoln Tunnel, so I was right close to the city, and that was a big opportunity for me. And that got me my first gig at the Peppermint Lounge, which was a little dump when I first went there. And it was on the west side in Hell's Kitchen, but I couldn't have learned more music and more about music than working at the Peppermint Lounge. It was better than going to Juilliard, man.
And you know what? I remember one of the cool things I read in your book too was about you had so many different musicians come in there, and one night you had Miles Davis and King Curtis come in and jam with you guys. They got up on stage and played with you guys.
I mean, you can't believe it. You know, I don't even tell people stories because they're incredulous. But in the book, I wrote all of this. It took me 11 years to write it and finally get it out. And it's a great read. And there's so many wonderful stories like King Curtis and Miles getting on stage with Joe D and the Starlighters. They just came from a session. They had their axes with him. He had his trumpet and King had his tenor saxophone. And they got up on stage. And we did a song called Things Ain't What They Used to Be, which you know, Robbie. And I got to play with all these superstars. I mean, I can't believe it, and I lived it.
It is a storybook. And, you know, one of the cool things that you mentioned Barry Gibb, Sir Barry Gibb, I might say. Here's what he says about your book. Joey D's time in the mid-'60s is in many ways unforgettable. The Peppermint Lounge and the Peppermint Twist will always be part of the pop consciousness. He was a pioneer in an industry that was ever evolving. I salute you, Joey, for your contribution and your talent, Sir Barry Gibb.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful.
How cool is that, man?
No, it
I mean,
doesn't
that's
get any
royalty.
better than that.
Yeah,
No.
it is royalty.
No.
I had, you know, Aaron Neville, his kid brother, Charles, was my sax player for quite a while. And the Neville brothers and I, unfortunately, we lost Charles and we lost Arthur, but Cyril and Aaron, you know, has that magnificent voice. I think one of the greatest voices of all time. Yeah, you know, it's a blessing. His voice.
Let's go back to.
Did you meet Elvis? Did you meet Elvis?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what happened. In 1969, I go to Las Vegas. I'm doing a gig, and I get invited to the Elvis concert. And I wasn't really an Elvis fan. I'm an R&B guy and a doo-wop guy. And Elvis was okay. You know, I admired him. I always admire success, but I wasn't really crazy about his music. But after I saw his concert, I became one of the biggest Elvis fans ever. Wow. He was just spectacular, and a down-to-earth human being, and he was a real person. And you could tell, like, if you see somebody on TV, like I'm watching you guys, you're the real deal. Or if you see somebody on stage, you can tell if it's fake or if it's real. He was the real deal, man.
Well, I think that's such a profound thing what you're saying, because I don't think you can be successful, at least a long-term successful, unless you are real. What do you think, Joey?
100%, exactly. And I always like to feel, I like, I show my foibles and my the things I don't do well. I'm not the greatest singer, but I wanted it more than anybody else. And I knew I was at the right place at the right time to make it. And I came up with the Peppermint Twist, and it just came together with Henry Glover. And that's how it happens. You don't have to have all the talent in the world. And it's quite unique that I'm on with the Yankee guys, man, because you had DJ to JD. How's that?
DJ to JD.
We flipped it backwards. And I've always been a great fan of Derek Jeter, man. He's a hell of a person, a hell of a personality, and one of the greatest ball players of all time.
Can I touch on something that he talked about a minute ago? You had the first integrated band to have that kind of huge success. And when you went and toured the South back in the 60s, you were living the Green Book. If anybody's seen that movie, The Green Book,
exactly.
It talked about
Academy Award. Yeah, you're exactly right.
That's right.
And here's the deal. The first time around, the guy hired me. He said I have to change some of the members of the group. And I said, that's not going to happen. This is my band. A month later, he comes back and he says, okay, I'll take the whole band. So now we're going through Georgia, Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, even Florida back then, 1962. Yeah. So we had our issues. And here's what happened. We couldn't all stay in the same hotel. We couldn't eat in the same restaurants. So I flipped it on them. We went to Soulville, where we could stay together.
Cool.
And they honored us and treated us like royalty. Wow. We ate in the restaurants. And it was so hypocritical because you go in a restaurant, whites only. And you know what happened? Who's cooking back there but a brother or a sister? So, it was just an incredible time.
Well, if I can take it back to the Dodgers,
colored restrooms and colored drinking fountains. I didn't grow up that way. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, we're just about out of time. We are so sorry.
Our director is killing us over here. Carmine is killing us.
Hey, guess what? If people want to hear more Joey D, they can tune into Jammin' Java tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock California time. Joey's going to be on for a whole hour with me tonight.
Wow, there we go. A doubleheader with Joey D.
One more rap on here, man.
Thank you so much. God bless. Thank you, guys.
And the guy next to you.
Love you.